Everything has changed so much that the next $10 million that I make on Airbnb will look nothing like the first 10 million that I made. And I'm gonna bring you along for the ride. I'm gonna tell you exactly what I'm doing. Let me slow it down. My first couple million was all luck. I was a newspaper sales kid. I was not meant to be good at Airbnb. I'm still barely good at interior design. Thank God I'm a nerd, numbers are cool, but all of this I was super new to. Didn't have a mentor, crashed my way through it, and I got straight lucky for the first 3 years because right place, right time. Nobody was on Airbnb yet. I got a head start and I could be bad at this. Over the last 10 years, what really made my $10 million was scale and systems. You could still pick up kind of any property, and as long as your systems were good, your costs were cheap enough, you could make a property profitable. My properties were ugly. I didn't do anything special. I just bought whatever furniture was around. I never painted any walls, no wallpaper, no plants, no lamps. God, barely any decor. That improved after COVID. I started to kind of get a little bit more mature with my design styles, but still, until maybe 2023, you could have almost any property on the planet. And as long as you operated it well, tried to keep it full with dynamic pricing, and made sure that you weren't overpaying for housekeepers, you could really make a huge profit. But every week, as I sit with my students and listen to their problems in 43 different countries, we're seeing this kind of upheaval of all these old properties. They're going out of business, they're having a tough time. If they're not adapting, they're dying. Saturday, I spent 8 hours with my students, everywhere from the Pacific Northwest to the Gold Coast of Australia. And one of my favorite realizations that we had along the way is we were looking at properties in Spokane, Washington, where Stay Alfred went out of business. That was their headquarters. And some of my employees used to work for Stay Alfred. They live in Spokane. So there's a lot of Airbnb arbitrage in Spokane because they picked up all the properties that Stay Alfred lost. And all of these properties have the same couches, the same stupid green chair, the same color scheme. There's hundreds of properties that all have a very similar look. And here in Dallas, one of my students wants to pick up properties near a person that I taught to do Airbnb through YouTube. His name's Hamza. And Hamza and his students all have really dark blue walls in their properties. That's how you can tell which ones are theirs. But they're all the same. And this creates this illusion of commoditization. I want to stop and land on this, and I really want you to think about this long and hard. Even if you only have one property, if you do a design style that everybody else is doing, gray couch, white walls, blue pillows, whatever, right? If you are one of 100 or 1,000 listings that all have the same approach to Airbnb, you become part of this run of more of the same. And then you commoditize yourself into the market. Any property with 12-foot ceilings, blue curtains, and a gray couch will be able to get $175 a night. And if you go too far above that, they won't book yours because there's 100 other properties cheaper. And the only way that you can fight to get booked first would be to offer a better price. So you have to break out. You have to do something different. So what we've done in Cracking Super Roast is we've identified whatever the commoditized design style is for a market. That was weird to say, commoditized design style. But if it's dark blue or if it's light gray and white, we go and make a design that is against the grain. So that way we stand out the most. We have the most contrast in that market, meaning that when Airbnb populates all these listings through the algorithm, everybody gets shuffled. They get enough first page views. That's how Airbnb works. There's going to be enough of these white and gray or these dark blues that we're going to pop off because we can predict how the first page is going to populate. How about that? And I'm going to keep it short because I oddly decided to record a video at all the wrong time. This vehicle is going to get hot real quick and the AC's off to keep the sound quality good. So like the video as I bake in this vehicle, but there are things that you don't want to go against the grain on. When we do market research, we look for best practices. Like I just said before, I wasn't painting. I had no plants. I had no lamps. There are design best practices. And you should study those design best practices to know what has to exist in a property. And then you should study your competition and identify who's making a lot of money, what best practices are they following, what are they doing that the market's not doing, what amenities do they have, what location, what size. Then identify if there's a commoditized inventory in your market so you can make sure you never go in that direction. Don't do their design styles. And you can copycat the one best listing if it's weird. That's fine, because the one best listing will always get booked anyway. And so if they're always booked, let's say they're booked a year in advance and you start an Airbnb property. When you show up in search, They won't be, because they're booked a year in advance. You're going to be the only one that pops up. So it's as if that other guy doesn't even exist anyway. You'll make tons of money that way. But even the best guys do some things wrong. So if you can identify, that they've got a length of stay minimum that never changes, or they don't change their prices appropriately, or they're missing a couple key amenities that the market really wants, or they don't have a totally complete design. They've got a good living room, but their bedrooms are mid. That happens all the time. You can still beat them. You can do better. So you can copycat to a degree, and then you can crush them. So to circle back to my next 10 million, what's working on Airbnb right now is extremely odd properties, novelty. And I'm teaching my students to look for properties that have built-in novelty. We've got a short list, and I'm not going to share that, but we have a list of things that we pick up inside of properties that make the property interesting right away. And then we try to build upon that. We try to work with what we've got in ways that make really authentic spaces, experiential spaces, novel spaces. And this is not just the property, but the view. For example, there's one city we just did research on, and the properties that you thought would make money all got commoditized because there's a lot of high-rise properties and hundreds of units. But there's this one building that overlooked this really odd bridge. And because of the view from the balcony, this one apartment is booked a year in advance, just crushing it because it's got a really cool balcony view. So my students in this random city that I'm not going to share so my students can keep winning, they're looking for a very specific bridge view to make money because of the novelty of it. And we talk about Dubai, Burj Khalifa. If you're going to be near the Burj Khalifa, you need to have a view of it out your window. Because if you're forced to just show the pool looking at the Burj Khalifa, then again, your view is commoditized. But if you can have a view of the Burj Khalifa from your couch, and you can have some really cool design in your living room where everybody else can like take their Instagram photos, where people are like, dude, I'm posted up in Dubai, like I'm living like a king. Everybody else has the pool photo. That's one everybody can have. But people want the Instagram photo no one else can have. Remember that Ben Stein movie? That Take Ben Stein's Money thing? I feel like it's the end of the game where he has to sit in a box because he's claustrophobic, and then he's got to answer like questions when he's flustered. Let's see how well I can keep talking about Airbnb while I sweat in this hot box. This is so fun. All of this starts at the market research phase of picking up properties. The hardest part of design, and I said this a couple days ago in my coaching session, is working with a property that has a couple pieces that the person wants to keep, like a couch or an end table and coffee table set, because the couch or the hardware, the fixtures, the coffee table end tables, they all have a look, and you have to have a cohesive design. So if you've got an oversized, ugly gray couch in a space and you're like hell-bent on keeping that couch, we've got to come up with a design style that makes that oversized, ugly gray couch make sense. And that can be really tough. So for those of you who have properties and have old furniture and have a design that's really not working out anymore, I can break your heart right now and tell you, you might have to throw everything away and start from scratch. Because the hardest thing is to try to build a design off of some stuff that's just kind of mid. And so the best thing you can do is during market research, before you pick up a property, is identify what types of properties will make the most money, exactly where, what kind of customers are traveling, what it is that they want, and then what design styles are good and popular, but what design style can really pop off the page in your market, considering this whole copycat method and commoditized properties. If you guys remember my Lake Wonderful example, there was $1 million property that had a pool and a hot tub by a lake. And families weren't booking it because it was really sterile, like real clean, contemporary furniture, good lines. But grandma's house was making all the money, even with bad photos. They didn't have any interior lighting, so there's window light coming in, and the furniture's all dark wood, and all that stuff is hand carved. The tapestry over the table's got like a paisley pattern, something like that. It's very much grandma's house. But even though they had bad photos, they didn't have a pool, and that was the point. They had a picnic table outside by the lake, and they had paddle boards, and they had kids games, and they had a pier. And families want to book this $650,000 house instead of the $1 million house because they don't want the kids to stop at the pool. They want the kids to get into the lake. So this person appealed to the desire of the parents to have a real authentic family vacation at a Texas lake and do some real Texas outdoor stuff with their kids and make real memories on the lake. They didn't want to make real memories in a pool because everybody can make memories in a pool. So can we not just give people designs that are new, architecture that's interesting, views out the window that are cool, but can we design memories that people want? And that's the next $10 million, because there's enough of everything. Everything can get commoditized, but get thoughtful, get creative, and give people what they don't even know they want yet. maybe what they're dreaming for. Thanks for watching this very short-ish video, and I'm gonna leave a playlist on design in the corner here, so you can like kind of crash through the ceiling and make the next best property in your market. My students have made over $1 billion, and that's mostly credit to them now, I understand. Sure, I've been teaching them, but goddamn, they work really, really hard. And I will say, if you're willing to put in the work and work hard, you can make the money too. So again, thanks, and I'll see you on the other side.